It might sound weird, but when I first got this watch in my hands, it made me a bit sad. Not because it's bad, it's actually the opposite. For the price, it's way too good. This made me rethink the actual cost of production of not only watches, but everything we own. Honestly, how can they keep getting away with it? We will later go through the prices of individual parts of the Steeldive watch if you source them from Aliexpress yourself, just so you get an idea of how little all this seems to cost. Now, let's talk about the watch. You are at Timeheim, and this is the Steeldive SD1970. The Steeldive SD1970 is a popular homage watch inspired by the iconic Seiko 6105-8110, a diverse watch that was used by many American soldiers during the Vietnam War. Homage watches like this Steeldive aim to provide a similar aesthetic and functionality as the original at a more affordable price. The SD1970 is popular because of its great build quality for a low price of around $50 US, but there are some trade-offs to consider when choosing it over a watch from an established brand like Seiko. This is the Steeldive next to my Seiko SKX. Even though the Steeldive has a larger case diameter, both have a rather short lug-to-lug thanks to the cushion-style case design. This means that if you know the SKX fits you, the Steeldive will too, and vice versa. And the same applies to this video. If you like this one, you will probably enjoy my next one. What I want to say with that is, you should subscribe to Timeheim. Both the Steeldive and SKX have the same bezel and dial diameter, but the dial on the Steeldive looks much smaller than the one on the SKX. This is because the SKX has the seconds or minute markings on the chapter ring that surrounds the dial, so the large markings can go right to the edge. Trying to imitate the look of the original 6105, the Steeldive has a completely black chapter ring with all the markings on the dial, which means they must be closer to the center and thus making it look smaller. The Steeldive has a ceramic bezel insert and a sapphire crystal, which is an upgrade compared to the original, although it does create a different and shinier look. In typical Seiko fashion, the SKX and also the original 6105 use an aluminium bezel and a hardlex crystal. I was close to buying one of the Steeldive watches 3.5 years ago when I was rather new to this interest. While the Steeldive is better than my SKX in many aspects, I am happy with the decision I made, because to me it does matter that it is a watch from a company I like, and the SKX is such an iconic model. Though now that I have this Steeldive here, I do kind of want one of these too. I don't really like the current SPB 151 reissue of the 6105. At first I didn't quite know what it was that made me dislike it, but I think it's the flat glass and the thinner bezel that makes it look less premium than the original 6105 or the SLA 033 reissue. I really like the SPB 317, which is a reissue / reinterpretation of the 6105 8000, also called the Slim Willard. But for both SPB models, I see the problem I addressed in my Seiko 5 Dress KX review, which is that they don't seem to be significantly better quality than a Seiko 5, even though the price is like 5 times higher. If you want a homage watch that looks a bit more like the original and also slightly better quality at a higher price, the Urdune R2X seems like a good option. How can these Chinese homage brands lower their prices every year when Seiko's prices keep increasing? I feel like the only reason to buy a Seiko right now is because we love the brand and its history, but unless they start improving their quality, that won't keep me in for long. Watching videos from others in the community and reading comments, I think a lot of people are fed up. I don't necessarily want Seiko to lower their prices. If they want to go more premium, so be it. But it makes no sense to me that a good amount of Swiss watches offer better value spec-wise compared to some Seiko watches. As far as I know, production over there in Japan is significantly cheaper. I bought the Steeldive on Aliexpress, which is the cheapest way I know to get it without too much hassle, as I'm sure there could be some other more risky and cheaper ways. On Aliexpress, a Seiko NH35 movement like the one in the Steeldive costs around $25 US. A stainless steel dive watch case costs around $35 if you want one similar to the Willard. A ceramic bezel is $5 to $10. Dials are $10 to $30 for a high quality one. Hands again $5 to $10. And finally, a stainless steel bracelet is $10 to $20. In total, this sums up to $90 to $130, which is much more than the $50 that the Steeldive costs. Still, that's much cheaper than any similar Seiko, even if you decide to go with more premium parts. Of course, Steeldive get the parts directly, so even cheaper. Should you buy a Homage watch? If you want to experiment with different styles, Homage watches are great for that. You can try one of these 6105 Homages and later on buy the SLA reissue, which is my plan if Seiko ever makes a premium reissue of the 6105 8000, aka the Slim Willard. For now, the Steeldive SD1970 offers excellent value for money with a reliable movement, solid construction and a decent, though slightly modernized imitation of the original design. However, it does come with some trade-offs, particularly in terms of brand perception and originality. I don't like to talk about specs, you probably know those already. You want to hear other people's opinion and that is what I try to provide. I might try one of those Urdune or Rectangular watches. So if you want to see that, subscribe to Timeheim. If you want to help me get a Seiko SLA, same thing, subscribe to Timeheim. Until then, you can enjoy my other videos, like my review of the Seiko 5 or maybe the Seagull 1963. Those two are also great lower budget watches that you must know of. Thanks for watching, bye.